my favorite songs are slow and sad. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Welcome to the Sad Song Queens podcast, where we dive deep into the songs that make us cry. I'm Laura Webb.
And I'm Lindsay Wolfington. Today, we are talking with Matt Berninger of The National about their song, About Today. The National is a Grammy-winning American rock band from Cincinnati, Ohio, made up of Matt Berninger, Aaron Dessner, Bryce Dessner, Brian Devendorf, and Scott Devendorf.
Matt Berninger is the lead vocalist and lyricist for The National. His songwriting has long garnered praise for its poignant clarity, jagged-edged wit, and intimately emotive melodies. And the band's sound is often called sad dad rock, which we love the sad dads. The band's career spans 10 studio albums over 25 years, with a multitude of sad songs to pick from.
They released their earliest albums on their own label, Brassland Records, before signing with the Beggars Group in the early aughts, and have had countless sync placements over the years, including a few on One Tree Hill.
Most recently, Matt has released his second solo album called Get Sunk, on which he tries not to be so sad. Check it out and let us know if you think he succeeded.
Today, we are throwing it back to a track from 2004, which we think may be the National's saddest song, About Today.
This is such an exciting moment for Lindsay and me to be talking with Matt, truly a pinch me moment. So grab those tissues and let's get into it, because we all need a good cry. And now, About Today by The National.
Today, you were far away, and I didn't ask you why. Could I say? I was far away, you just walked away, and I just watched you. Could I say? How close am I to losing you? Tonight, your eyes, and I just watch you slip away. How close am I
I can only take that once in a row.
Oh my God.
You know how often that comes up that like it's really hard for all the artists to hear their song back? You know, like, is it torture us playing it for you?
No, I mean, it's funny. I performed it a lot, since, I don't know how many times I performed that song since we recorded it. What is that on Cherry Tree? EP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
2004, so 20 years old.
Right.
21.
Yeah. I do write melodrama, right? So is that like a diary entry necessarily? No. And like there's so many songs I've written about Corinne and other people in marriage, but I was writing about marriage before I ever met Corinne. There's a song called Slipping Husband, and it sounds like, and so I do get into perspectives of fantasy, looking at the darker side. Some of my favorite songwriters just go right to the heart of things, and so I think this song particularly, About Today, I think I wrote it. I know it's the only song that I had the whole thing written in a notebook, every word, before I heard any music. And of the, I don't know, hundreds of songs I've written, I write lots of lyrics, and sometimes, the truth is, songs like Not in Kansas and the newer songs like Nowhere Special, I think those were, because I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do with the music. I can't do anything with music, so I just kind of put the stream of conscious slush in there. That's different though about Today. I think when I wrote that and I finished that, I was like, okay, don't change a word of this. Everything's in just the right place. And that might be the only time I've written a song like that. I'm sure there are others, like especially in the early years, I'm like, there it is. There's the song, and I see it on a page. But really, it's not until most of the time it's once you start to work with the music. And also I kind of enjoy writing while listening to music, and just so my process changed a lot. I think that was early when writing for me was really, really slow, and it was, the metaphor of trying to squeeze drops of blood from your forehead, like every word. I was in that mode there, because I was trying to write Into Your Arms, by Nick Cave. I was trying to write Martha by Tom Waits. I was trying to write Famous Blue Raincoat. I was trying to write those songs. I think that song's good because it's just a real simple play-by-play of paralysis, emotional paralysis, and distance, and the subtle little ways it creeps up and plays out. And I remember being in the studio, and that was when Padma Newsom was a big part of the National, and he had come with Bryce from their orchestral quartet Clogs, and Padma was a big part of those first, from this record and a few more records, but specifically, so this was one where Padma had really written a beautiful piece of music.
Oh, okay.
The strings, really.
I was going to say, the strings, which are such a touching part of the song.
That's all the string. There's the acoustic guitar, where that's Aaron and Bryce in their wheelhouse, just kind of, and Brian is playing, a style that was, he's playing like New Order under this like string thing. So the weird chemistry and the momentum of that song, I think, is due to Brian. The emotional water that matched. I don't know if Padma and I talked about the lyrics, or this was a piece that Padma had. I don't remember, but it's really Padma Newsom and Brian, so it's one of those weird chemistry songs that was early. That was, and Cherry Tree is the record where we were starting to find sort of the magic chemistry of all the weird people that had collected to become the National, and everybody with very different backgrounds in music, very different tastes, very different collections. Padma and I probably didn't have any records. We probably didn't share a single record in his collection versus mine. And somehow that comes together, and Brian probably doesn't have, has his own thing. All those things coming together on this one thing, where that was a light bulb for us. And, I felt like this song was a big light bulb for me as a writer too. And I think I was probably trying to impress Corinne, right? That was one of the songs I wanted to, she was a poet and a fiction editor, and I had just met her. And so, this was me trying to write a perfect song. Yeah.
That's so awesome. So one thing we kind of do a little bit on here is talk about what we think the song is about. And then you can tell us if it was really just you were writing poetry for Corinne or what the story is.
Yeah, I had like two theories. One, I thought like maybe the relationship's ending, and maybe in the beginning you don't really care what's happening with them because you're just kind of like, oh, we have this deep chasm because you didn't ask them if they're okay, and maybe the relationship's decaying. But then I really like as the song progresses, you're like, are you awake? And you're trying to reach across and mend it, right? That's one. The other one is perhaps that you're both in deep depression and you both don't know how to get out of it. But at the end, you do try to, right? Like, because you're asking, are you okay? And the imagery of like the two people lying in bed, being so close yet far away is just so poignant. Like, that's what I vision in my head of just like, you can be so close, but you can be so far. But I do love that turn. It's really clever writing of, hey, are you awake? Like, I'm trying here. So those are mine. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt the relationship. Those moments where you feel like something's not right between you, but you don't acknowledge it. And just, the maintenance of a relationship, you do have to, if someone wants to show you something, you have to look at it. You do have to ask about their day. I kind of saw it as like the space between, is this falling apart? And then, like Laura said, kind of like, what can I do to save it?
Yeah, I mean, all that resonates. It is the thing. And I think I've written a lot of songs about you can be in a car with somebody and be further away from them and feel more distant from them. And the two of you, on a long road trip, or I mean, I've gone, and this isn't just specifically about, Corinne or anything like that, but I think like sometimes in marriages, in relationships, people go to bed, but they can't even look over, they've both faced the walls and they're inches apart. They might even be almost touching, but they had one of those days, and it could have lasted all day, right? And you go out, you can do your thing, you go out together, you go to a restaurant, you go out with friends, and you're there together all day. But there is something at the same time that you're both stuck in something, and it's it's not just miscommunication, it's the fear of communicating. It's
right,
the
like
fear
discommunication.
It's the fear of the truth. And also, I think a lot, I do write about alcohol a lot, and I drink, but I do know that I'm not an alcoholic, but I do understand that it was once described as alcoholism is not the lack of sobriety, it's the lack of intimacy. And it's not always like, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, your podcasts or your thing, like there's a way to disappear in a room with other people and go off. And I think alcohol, it's a social lubricant, but it's also a retreating mechanism.
Right.
And so and I was probably writing a lot of these songs while I was drinking in some sort of thing where I'm drinking and writing songs instead of having a conversation, right? So I think I'm writing about that too, and I think I may have written it, on one of those days, and probably like a day with Corinne where we were, early dating, we wasn't sure, we just had I don't know, it could have been about anything, because I've had those days. You have those days with your children. You have those days with your parents, with your best friends. Sometimes your best friends, you can't even, you can't believe they had that. You just feel like, So that can happen anywhere with anybody. And so I think I try to distill that distance and the pain of distance, even though you've been together every day for months, you can still be on the opposite. Like there's a song I've written more recently with Walter Martin called Distant Axis, and it's the same song, I think, in many ways. And I probably have 10 others,
Yeah. I mean, listening back and reflecting on your writing this song and like kind of the magic of it coming together, what does the song mean to you now? Has it changed?
I mean, when I'm on stage, which is where I'm really mostly experiencing it, and it comes up, and I don't know what's going to be on my set list. I don't want to, because I like even when it's about today, I was like, okay, yeah, what's the first line? Like I have so many songs.
Wait, who decides the set list then?
Aaron and Scott and Brian. I mean, basically all those guys do, because it's more important for them to know like which keys and where to switch
Right.
guitars and where Brian,
Right.
he can't do 3 or 4. He can do 4 rockers in a row, but he can't do 5 in a row. We gotta give Brian a break. So all those things are more important to them than they are for me. I don't think those guys really pay. I won't say this is not I don't think that they're thinking of the lyrics or the themes and the lyrics that are creating any kind of narrative flow through the 2+ hours that we play now, which is cool because I don't want to know what the next scene is going to be, because I'm best on stage. And I have a lyric monitor because sometimes all of a sudden
You have
pops up.
a long canon of work. Yeah.
Yeah, and me memorizing is not what I'm good at. Writing is what I'm good at, and so when a song, especially when a song comes up that I can't remember even the first line, I really get connected to it because I start to it starts coming back to me, and I'm like, I'm not nervous about remembering the lyrics, because I can just look at the monitor if I have to. A lot of times, I'll go through whole shows and never look at the thing. I'm not nervous about remembering. So I can then I can appreciate the words again. Even a song we haven't done in 2 years, all of a sudden pops up, like About Today, we do About Today a lot, but any of them, then I get to have a new fantasy of like, what is this about? And I think about today, whenever it comes up in a set list, I think my head goes right to my daughter, because it's usually weeks since I've seen her, and so it's more like a literal, like literally you were far away. Like that's all I can think. Once I say today you were far away, even though the rest of it's like very close, and so like I'm still probably got my daughter in my head, and it won't come out, but it's not always that. It's sometimes it's the band.
Sure.
After a day, no one has spoken to each other all day, and and I know the band sometimes, and like when we're playing songs, the band, I think they all sometimes like kind of zone out. Like now we're at a point where because we're switching songs every time and everybody's kind of paying attention, they're paying attention to the lyrics even more, and I'm actually paying attention to the music in some ways even more, because we can't remember how it goes, and we realize how this is so good. Why is this so good? Why are people crying? And then they start listening to the lyrics, and Aaron will start this, those guys will start thinking about their kids or their parents, I've been up there and I've thought of my parents, I've thought of so many people. I've thought, when I've lost people, or I know that I'm in the process of losing people, or whoever it is, they'll come to my mind too. So it's like when you might be losing somebody and you're just you can't, it feels like there's nothing you can do about it. It's flexible. Well, that's why I love the use in the movie Warrior.
Yeah.
Because it's a mixed martial arts movie, and
Yeah, that wasn't what you had in mind when you wrote it.
right. So I was a little bit like, I don't know, because the culture of MMA was kind of grossed me out at the time. But Gavin was given the song by a guy named Sam Sheridan, who's now become a really close friend. And Sam loved the song so much, and he had written these books about mixed martial arts, and he had done some, but more of from a writer's perspective, kind of a journalistic perspective. And a lot of Sam's writing went into the writing of the movie Warrior, and he suggested About Today to Gavin, and Gavin fell in love with it. But specifically, they fell in love with the live version, which is even more just intense. And they said it during a really incredibly violent fight between two brothers who have completely lost connection, and they both are in the same trauma of an alcoholic father, all these, and one's back from the PTSD, so there's all this thing, these two brothers, and in a band like the National, that it really, and all that really works. So I think that might be, our music has been used in many, 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 many things.
Yes.
In some really interesting and beautiful ways. But in terms of like, that might be one of the most powerful uses of any of our songs in any movie, I think.
That's so cool that you remember it and know all the details of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, it's a beautiful, it's a movie about, the background, but it's like, is Rocky or is Raging Bull about boxing? No. It's about pain and family and alcoholism and all these things and family. Most of those stories about family and stuff. So, and that movie's about family. So yeah, it was beautiful. And I still, when I watched that scene in that movie, and that's a great movie. And I because of that movie, I got to know Joel Edgerton and Nash Edgerton and Sam Sheridan and all these really interesting people from Hollywood. Gavin O'Connor, who makes a lot of incredible movies. He's and that was sort of like a connection into a lot of people, like Patty Jenkins, who I've become really good friends with, who's Sam's wife. And so funny that movie connected to me to not only, I don't know, a lot of things, but like some dear friends. That one song, like now I have a really close friend because he fell in love with that song.
It is such a cinematic song.
Yeah. And that's Padma. That's Padma Newsom. And Brian, the drums, and so.
And that voice. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That guy singing's okay.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, no, and the words. Yeah, every time when I do that live now, I'm like, oof, I'm glad I didn't change a word of that one. That was good. Yeah.
Well, so wondering if you would agree, when we were like, we obviously pick one sad song to talk about, and you had so many to pick from in your body of work. Yeah. Do you think it's your saddest song, or do you know what you think is your saddest song?
That is really hard for me to say. When I listen to it now, when I listen to it just now, I was like, "Ooh, that might be the one." But then there's songs like "I'll Still Destroy You," and then there's songs like "Available," which is the most angry song. And so sometimes when I play that, it feels where and I've written some songs from much lower places than I was when I wrote About the Day. I mean, there's songs like "I'll Still Destroy You" that just really moves me. I'll be perfectly honest. I usually don't put anything into a song that didn't either make me laugh out loud, trigger something, and often tears. And so when I'm writing, I'm like, shit. If a lot of it's like, oh, that's perfect, but I don't trust the ones that I think are perfect lines as much as the ones that just actually the weird ones that just made me well up for no
that move you
mysterious reason or for a very obvious reason. So yeah, I know not if it triggers me, it's good,
Yeah, we often say that for like when we're trying to find a song in the scene. We're like, if we get the goosebumps, then we're like, okay, hopefully other people do.
The lyrics don't have to, correspond to anything narratively. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been recovering the song "Kid A" by Radiohead, and and I've listened to that song, and just it's such an incredible, mysterious thing. And like, what are the lyrics? I can't tell what it is. And like I've sung along to that thing, and no time didn't know a single word on this, and now covering it, it's got these things, we've got heads on sticks, and you've got ventriloquists, and just all these incredibly haunting things, and so I listen to that and I well up, but I don't know why, and even songs that are, I don't know. I mean, I have a song on my list by a band called Liturgy, which is heavy. I don't classify exactly what it is, but it's scream. It's like hardcore, kind of. But it's filled with strings and the lyrics. It's called "God of Love," and it comes back to the words "God of Love," but the rest is abstract. Kind of almost like the kind of language that is. I think people who listen to hardcore and all that kind of stuff. It's biblical. It's celestial. It's all these big themes, but the words don't quite make sense. But the expression of pain and fear and desperation in this music, that almost every time I listen to it, and it's not. It's funny. It sounds like it's like, oh, am I really gonna? It starts out with beautiful strings, and then all of a sudden it
punches you in the face.
But you're like, okay, do I really want to stick with this? And like, so turn it down for a minute, but just stick with it, and listen to headphones, and you hear this voice saying words that you cannot decipher, and you're hearing these strings and the music, and then this pounding guitars and bass and drums and everything. It's just like an onslaught. But if you like tune into it, it is the sound. I can't not well up when I listen to it. I was listening to this morning, and I was having my daughter and I, who's 16. I was like, she was helping me with this thing, like come up with, and I was like, can you listen to this? Like, is this a good one to talk about? And we were talking, and I was playing it for her, and she's like listening, and I had to look away because I just started crying, and it had something to do with like, I'm trying to explain to my daughter why this makes me cry, and that made me cry more.
Did you discover that song at a time in your life? Like, do you think it found you?
I discovered it about a year ago, and I just, I mean, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of hardcore, a lot of metal, a lot of, that is, I mean, Nirvana. I think Kurt Cobain has written some of the most directly heartbreaking, honest lyrics of all time, and there's a reason why Nirvana, I think, is the best American band of all time. I love the Beach Boys. I love the Beach Boys, but Nirvana. So and Kurt Cobain and sometimes the words, like I said, Kurt Cobain writes words that are in and out of imagery, in and out of just guttural expression, not unlike Tom York, I would say. You can tell Tom York is obsessed with Kurt Cobain.
I've never thought about that, but yeah.
Oh yeah. And Pixies, and
I can see that.
Pixies have some crushing songs, but Nirvana, and it's back to hardcore and back to the song God of Love by Liturgy. There's, my brother talks about metal, and for him it's Judas Priest, and or AC/DC and stuff that I can't. But there is, I mean, Rob Halford does do some incredible processing. He's an incredibly courageous, powerful, emotional writer.
Well, it sounds like some of the threads you pick up, we often ask, what do you think makes a song sad? And what I'm picking up from you is the emotion behind it, even if you can't understand what the lyrics are. And maybe strings. It's the emotion. It's the emotion it triggers. It's the emotion. It's when a musician or a band or a composer, Vivaldi or Mozart, or like a painter. When there are paintings you can look at, and you look at it long enough, you'll start to cry. And it might take a minute. And it's hard to do that in a museum. But I think all art and songs are trying to reach across some distance. That's the same thing that About Today is trying to do. That we're right here next to each other. We're trying to just reach across a really short distance, and then you go to a rock show where everybody's packed in, literally touching each other, and they're all singing these abstract words that are about my ex-girlfriend or something like that, or whatever it is, and it doesn't matter. Or they're at a Judas Priest show, and or a hardcore show, and everyone, whether they're slamming together, and punk is slamming together, it is contact with other humans, which is, we all need that physical contact. It's community, it's church, and it's more church. I mean, I used to go to church, and we would hold hands, and they sing the certain songs, and it's really rigid. It's supposed to be that a community, about talking about the truth and the meaning of life, but it never felt like that. But rock shows do feel like that. And whether at Billie Eilish at Madison Square Garden, and which I was just at, it's church. She turned a basketball arena into church that night. So that's what Taylor does. That's what all artists are doing. Like, what is it about being close to each other and crying together, and screaming and singing and crying together? Which is, people go see movies and all cry quietly in their seats next to each other. But when you're crying out loud with your kid on your shoulders, and your 9-year-old on your shoulders is crying, and you're crying because of some abstract Radiohead song, because Radiohead's right there, or Nick Cave or Beyonce is right there in front of you, or Roberta Flack is right there in front of, I mean, whatever it is, you go see a show, or you go see any performance, and it's just, when you're in the room with the person who had those abstract feelings that you and your dad cried about or talked about in the car, and there they are, and then all these other people are crying along, you realize that everybody's sad about all the same stuff.
Yep.
And then you're not as sad.
It's true.
So that's, I've always said that about sad songs. I mean, happy songs make me feel so depressed and alone. Sad songs make me feel connected to the world and other people, and it make me feel less alone.
Agreed.
When you're loneliest or darkest, I mean, sometimes you can't even empathize with your own sadness. You have so much self-loathing that you can't. I am not going to wallow. So I went through a long period where I was so depressed I wouldn't listen to anything or watch anything. I had contempt for my own melodramatic depression, and that's a real different place. And that's when you need some medicine, which is what I got. And, but for most of my life, digging into that, touching the nerve, looking for where's the exposed wire that's laying in the puddle, right? And all your lights are buzzing. Where's the wire laying in the puddle? And that's the thing you want to touch and see what happens, because that's when you're going to like, am I still alive? Am I alive? Like I said it out loud, and did I die? And that's where art and movies and everything, hardcore, they can just scream gutturally and it's okay. You know, like primally and weep primally together with people, and it's okay. It's the music, and I think rock shows are the only place people can do that.
Do you have a song or an experience? I was going to say either a song you return to when you're like, I need to feel that way and I'm sad and I don't want to feel alone, or an experience that made you feel that way, maybe at a show.
That's a funny thing. Do I have a go-to heal me song? Not really. No, I tried to figure out my favorite sad songs, and there's a list of, here's one that I just remember always like contemplating and thinking about constantly, and listening to it today, and it's from a musical, and it's
we love musicals.
Yeah. This is, I'm not even sure who wrote this. I'm not sure. I don't think Stockard Channing wrote it, but There Are Worse Things I Could Do from Grease.
So good.
And I remember, Grease, I had the Grease soundtrack, I loved every song in that thing. But this one, in seeing the movie and watching all that, and that was the character was the hardest for me to understand. You get who Sandy is. Sandy's great, complicated. Danny's complicated, but what Frenchie's going through, and what Stockard Channing's, Rizzo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rizzo, and whoever wrote the lyrics to that song, and she says something, and it's the turning point. It's got so much self-loathing in it. The worst thing is be dishonest about herself and about things, and that's the truth. I think lying to yourself and lying to others is the worst thing. It's not cheating. It's it's not, and so her thing, and then when she says there was things I would never do to someone just like me, or something like that, and it's like she knows, she has empathy for even those who she hates, and she hates herself. And there's, she's telling herself that you have more character than to lie and to blame, and what if someone did that, treated you this way? Mm-hmm. And she has the power. She's the most advanced character in that whole film, and the most beautiful character. And she's the one I ultimately had the biggest crush on, because I wanted her to know. I was like, I love you. You can be that honest with me, and like, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Sandy was the sort of, it was beautiful, and also there's so many beautiful songs in that musical, but that one particularly is the I think the best one. It's heartbreaking.
I was going to say, is there a song on your list that you and your daughter agreed upon was the saddest? Because I have a 15-year-old. She's not that into sad songs yet.
Yeah, well, we do. My daughter has awesome music taste, and she and very much her own. But we do. We listen, and I'm always like, check this one out, and she's always telling me, check this out, check that out. So it's really fun. We went into trying to. If we were fighting over what Sufjan Stevens song makes us cry the most, and for me, it was hers with the Polanski Bullet Bridge of Illinois.
Casimir Polanski.
That's come up on this podcast.
Yeah, and so she played that to me, and then I played Should Have Known Better from Carrie and Lowell. And it has the thing about the mom leaving them in the video store and all that. And I listened to Carrie and Lowell after Trump won the first time, and and that was a place where I couldn't process that the first time, much less the fucking second time. I should have known better. I just would, in that whole record, I retreated to that record because I wanted to empathize with a different kind of sadness. And so Sufjan has a way of just courageously writing, honestly about the most mysterious, complicated, and crushing combinations of impulses of your soul and heart. Then he's one of the best. Incredible. So we fought over which one of those.
Love that.
Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye. Leonard Cohen, but particularly Roberta Flack's cover of that song. Okay. I think the saddest Nirvana song is the song Dumb. I don't know why that one. There's so many sad songs. All Apologies is sad. But anyway, So here's a song by Walter Martin of Walkman, who I've written other songs.
And he wrote on Get Sunk, right?
He wrote on
the newest album.
England Ocean with me. Yeah.
I love that song. That one's great.
Yeah, the first song. And I wrote that a long time ago with him. And that one, that's not really that is actually a pretty fucking sad song.
It feels sad. Yeah, I was going to say, it feels pretty sad.
If Laura likes it, it probably
No, I forgot the first lines. Flew to Indiana to see a friend. She was already dust by then. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That is how it starts. But Walt has a beautiful way of writing beautiful music. And so the song I'm talking about is a song he wrote called The Soldier. It is a song simply almost like somebody is just telling a story from a perspective. As it goes, you learn that's a man telling a story of how when he was young he went off to Hawaii before World War I, and then was just there, and that's where he met his guy who became his best friends. They ended up having to fly to Iwo Jima, and they weren't like in the action. It tells this long story, like a narrative, and as it unfolds, you find that he's telling a true story to who's he telling the story? You're not sure yet, and he tells about after Iwo Jima was decimated, and he found a dead Japanese soldier, and he took the grenade, and then dismantled it as a souvenir, and he went through the pockets and found a picture in the soldier's wife of a woman and a child, and he cried. It's the best song. I'm literally crying, telling you the story, because then, and I'm gonna stop.
No.
As it unfolds,
we encourage crying in this podcast.
I couldn't. So as it unfolds, you learn. Then the man tells how then they got back. They had a daughter, raised the daughter, and that daughter had a daughter. But their own daughter, the soldier and his wife, talks about how they met, and then his best friend met, they met, who eventually became his brother-in-law. And he realized that Walter Martin is writing about his wife's grandfather, who's her grandfather, and this is the narrative, so her grandfather and grandmother raised her because her mother passed away in her early 20s, 27, I think. And so she was raised by her grandparents. And then it gets to this guy talking about now this little girl who we've raised is now married to this goofy songwriter who writes songs for TV commercials. And then you realize this man is talking to Walt about, and it's the perspective of it all that comes back to Walt and his own daughters, to his wife, and to his wife's mother, who he never met and she never knew, but then to her father, all wrapped up in this one song called The Soldier. And it's absolutely a masterpiece of songwriting and of storytelling.
Yeah.
And an emotional, generational emotional beauty. It's so powerful. It's one of the most powerful, saddest. And when I listen to it, it makes you cry tears of love. Those are really special songs.
I love how connected you are. Like, I'm breaking.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No, I do the same thing.
It is funny. It is funny. I have a tattoo of the song Martha from Tom Waits. And that one breaks me. Levi Stubbs' Tears by Billy Bragg totally breaks me down. Tom Waits, go back to Tom Waits. Okay. I think, let's go to the song Who Are You? Off of Bone Machine. Who Are You This Time? That one makes me well up. And I think a lot of that has themes of that one about people, distancing themselves from other people and putting on defensive posturing, and never really showing someone their truth. And even how we go through all these phases of self-identity. I mean, my record Get Sunk digs into all this a lot. And as I was listening to other songs, Who Are You This Time? Who Are You This Time by Tom Waits. I was like, ooh, I think I'm trying to rewrite that one song. It's taking me 10 songs to do it with Get Sunk. But Who Are You This Time? So that's that one. Tom Waits also, and also the combination of humor and darkness and sincerity. You need all those things to really honestly reach the center of somebody's heart, wherever that is, that emotional spot that makes them, start like I just did talking about Walt Martin's song,
I mean, we read that, or listened, I think we heard you on the Daily Show talking about how Get Sunk is kind of an attempt to step outside of your sad dad mode.
Yeah.
Do you?
This podcast isn't helping in that you made
I
me
know.
cry.
I was like, oh shoot.
I talked about my daughter and cried. I did nothing
That's a
to
good thing.
disenforce that.
That's a good thing.
No.
But it's
I
honest,
know, I'm kidding.
right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
great.
No,
But,
no, I love
talk
the whole,
a little bit about that.
No, I love the sad dads. Whatever tag. It's 100% right, and I think I said that on talking to Jordan Klepper, and yeah, and so I guess I mostly I love sad movies, I love
Me too.
that's stuff to say. I love action movies. I love all these things, but the sad stuff. And when I say sad, it is not. It's the things that give me relief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I think we are constantly. I don't think human beings cry nearly enough. I've written essays on crying.
Agreed.
I've gone through phases where I wish I could cry more, and then when I'm the happier and healthier I am. No, that's not true. there are phases where I was in deep depression, crying constantly, and it was not good crying. It was
right.
not, it was panic crying.
But the crying when you feel
that was
the relief.
whimpering,
right?
Right, but the crying does. I think in most people, if you're crying and can't get out of bed for a week, then you need help. But those moments during the day where you're just like, and you find yourself in a moment, and it just starts. Whether you're in your car listening to a song. Anytime it is, you're just in the bathroom. You sit on the toilet, and you're just whatever it is. There's one of my favorite moments of any film of all time is in broadcast news when Sally Field sits on a bed because she's so just overwhelmed with all kinds of things, stressed out, conflict with her insecurity and this love triangle, whatever it all is. She sits down on the bed and just has got it all controlled, and then she just melts down for 10-15 seconds and just sobs, and then sucks it all back together, wipes her, and off she goes again, and I always thought that was what an incredible, it shows what everybody's kind of doing on a daily basis, like every hour or two sometimes. Ooh. Especially days like these, it's so, and you have to release, that stuff has to come out. It's physiological. It's like, it's biological. It's like those tears are not, I don't want to be gross, but you got to get that out of your body.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever cry on purpose? Like, I used to watch sad movies because, like, I need a good cry.
Yep. Yeah. It's not like I'm like, here I go. I can clearly need a cry, but like there'll be times where I'm just like, it's weird. It's tough because like I always think, oh, what's going to make me cry, and I can't. I don't want to go to it and depend on it to do that because that'll kind of ruin it.
Right.
It's sort of like when that liturgy song comes up, in whatever. I have playlists filled with like the most. Sometimes the shuffle will terrify you as you're driving, right? Because liturgy come on right after Roberta Flack, and you forget who you're listening to until that moment. It all comes in, and but that's just like on like doing my own songs on stage. Like I don't really want to know. I don't want to like put it in there, a plug-in to make me cry. I don't want to. It's not like a cry pill. You have some playlists, you're like, okay, I know a bunch of stuff in there triggers me. Let's just see if throwing that on shuffle is going to get it out. You can't really force yourself. It's sort of like, you can. It's like, but like, it's if you need to throw up, you can go sit there and put your finger down your throat when you know that you're going to have to throw up whatever it is, whether it's too much wine or food poisoning or whatever it is. But I think that's the same thing with our emotions and our hearts, when I talk about it in a biological way, I feel like a good sob is so refreshing. Like you'll fall right to sleep.
Listening to Concord had sent us like an advance of like 5 songs from Get Sunk a couple months ago. And I just remember being in my car and it was like the end of the day and I wasn't sad particular, but I was like, it's been a day. And those songs were just like, they know what it's been a day feels like. Right. And like there's kind of this like almost hypnotic repetition that just like feels good in those moments. So
honestly, people, it is, I Get Sunk, I wanted to make a record. First Two Praises of Frankenstein and Laugh Track, those last 2 national records, in many ways are sadder. And those 2 records go together, and those feel like a real sad bunch for me in a way, in a good way. But in a more complicated way than this, and the intention with Get Sunk was to make a record. Actually, it seems like my intention with Serpentine Prison was also to make a comforting record. But this one also, I not just comforting. I wanted to make a record that felt like I wanted the silver linings to be woven throughout all these clouds. And so there are a lot of cloudy songs, but I really do, when I wanted it to feel like it's there's some kind of light breaking through the mist of all this heaviness. And I wanted the record not to feel drowned, but I wanted to feel like you're on the other side of drowning. Meaning, back on shore and back on the bike and back in the struggle. And how that can be funny and say in all those things. And so I did want this record to make you feel good. And I think it does.
Yeah.
Even though the last song is Times of Difficulty, and it's kind of ironic, it sounds so limp to call what the times we're in at times of difficulty, right?
Right.
But then it goes back to Kansas and their state motto and Latin all the way back, in times of difficulty, look to the stars. And that was when Kansas was deciding to go with Confederates or the Union. And they went with the Union, the stars, because they made that moral choice to be a slave state or not. And that's not what times of difficulty is about, the last song on my record.
Sure.
But that there's something about that song that is saying, look to the stars. There is a way through this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what a lot of the record is about. There's the bike rides are trying to navigate a way through all this dark, this nowhere special. Where are we going? They're all about trying to find someplace, going back to the past, going back to Indiana. It's the record is navigating a lot of dark stuff, but I feel like it gets through the woods a lot. And so it's a path. It feels like a sonic path, with the little, I was walking through the woods at night the other night. I'm in Connecticut now. And there's all these windy paths. I can walk across my street to a trailhead, and it would take me 2 hours, but I can get to
heavenly.
Keith Richards. I can get to Keith Richards' actual backyard.
Do you do it?
I'm literally looking over my shoulder as
Yeah.
that's his primary residence. I can go through the woods without going on any private property
sounds so
or
nice.
crossing a road and get to, and it's connecting these nature preserves up here in Connecticut, and they happen to all connect. And one of the trailheads is across the street from me. And so I was seeing how far I could get, and there's all these loops, and you can easily get lost. And the sun was going down, and it got actually a little bit dark. It wasn't like dark, but the trails when these are really they're kind of like the minor league trails. It's not like there's almost no traffic. The way you find your way on a trail that's a nature preserve or any public park is those white diamonds on the trees, or sometimes they're blue depending on different colored trails, and the diamond, if there's one, that means you just keep going past, walk past this tree, and they're all white reflectors. And so you can turn them on a flashlight, you can see it and find that. Sometimes it's 50 yards away and you really got to look, but you'll see that white diamond. There'll be this little light and it looks like a star in the darkness. And then when you get that, and sometimes there'll be two, one's up here, and you start to read them. If there's one here and then one up here, that means you need the path turns this way. If there's one at the bottom, one at the top, one here, it means you're going to have to go around and turn the U-turn. And so it's kind of like in times of difficulty, look at the stars, even applies to like a trail in the middle of the night.
Right. I love that analogy. In Nowhere Special, what was the writing process with that? Was that all journal entries, or there's so much to unpack in that, and I love so much of it?
Well, the music of that, all the music of this, I kind of cooked up with the same band. Some of the songs I wrote, with Walter Martin or Mike Brewer, some other, but most of them I wrote, this one included with Sean O'Brien, who had been a producer and had been recording me with the National for a long time. And so we wrote 6 of these 10 songs together, including that one. And a lot of it started, let's just get a few chords, a few momentum. And that one was particularly, I didn't want a song with a bunch of parts. I wanted like one that just kind of had momentum and builds and sways. It wasn't like, it was one of those more like a slower wave. And so we cooked up this music, and I had a song that I was trying, but then I didn't like the song. The lyrics weren't very good. So I tried to write another song. I ended up writing 4 or 5 songs that had choruses and had these, parts. And they all just weren't as good as the music alone. So it was the last one
that
we did.
Sean had made like the bones of.
Yeah, well, we had cooked
musically.
it all up. A lot of times I'll write a whole song. I'm like, that's great. And then I listen to it and I'm like, Sean, everything's great about this except for everything I'm doing. And I'll change all the lyrics and I'll try to write a whole different song. I mean, that'll drive my collaborators crazy. Like, because a lot of times as a producer, after you've written the bones of a song, then they build their whole time, building this painting that perfectly supports your melody and maybe your ideas. And then you're like, okay, everything you built underneath my roller coaster of melodies and stuff like that to support it, I'm changing my roller coaster is now going to go like this, and it's going to go against, and that as a producer, that can drive people crazy, but I have to do that all the time. It's the same thing about today. Like what I'm doing versus what Padma's doing versus what Brian's doing is why it feels, multi-dimensional and Nowhere Special. I tried something. And so we ran out of time, out of budget. It was the day after the National had played at Hollywood Bowl, or no, Greek Theater, National show. I think it was Hollywood Bowl. But I was, I had one day to go back in the studio with Sean to try to do something with this piece of music that I just still loved. And I was like, well, I just brought in everything that I had and I in a Word document, like, and some of it was written on baseball, some of it was written on things that I'd put, and I knew I needed to find. I went in trying to what about a song like this? The only thing I came up with was Nowhere Special. And then I was like, that one little melody, and I was like, okay, but what else? And then I just started reading whatever, but not just reading whatever I had. I started talking to Sean about, and I was having issues with the latency, which is kind of like you hear your own voice like a split second after you say it. And that's really can drive you crazy when you're trying to record.
Yeah.
And then the click sometimes is trying to keep you on the rhythm, and a lot of songs aren't to a click, so they can speed up and slow down. And I think this one might have been to a click. Sometimes I want to hear the click, but then this, I was like, fuck it, the click. I don't know what I'm doing. None of these words are going to match up anyway. So I was like, can you turn off the click or whatever? So, and those things, as I was talking to Sean and we were running out of time, I was like, just leave it in there. And then I'll start reading it. I often describe words or phrases or parts of songs as Legos, and it's always that you're collaging, and I don't sit there and try to I'm going to make this a Lego sculpture, and then I like to put a lot of weird Legos together. And so I had all these Legos. Some of them big sections won't go together, but then the other Legos. And so this song is sort of like a pile of Legos, other songs are different kind of constructions, but I was like, what if this one is just a big pile, right? And you can, and it kind of sounds like a pile of Legos, but it also feels like the way your brain works. I mean, this one, that, and Nowhere Special, or even Smoke Detector. These kind of, I think those actually represent what's the activity of the normal brain. You're usually juggling 3 stressful things at a time at all times.
I am so feeling that today.
Yeah.
Whether it's driving and then also trying to have a debate with whoever's in the car or just listen to whatever story your daughter's telling you on the way to school, staying on the road, focusing on her, and then also not thinking about all your own things, but your mind just is a blender. I think most of our minds are a tornado of leaves and rocks and dust constantly, and we're just trying to stay like life is normal and we're fine. I mean, everything's fine in the middle of the tornado of our own stuff. And so I think those songs are good representations of the tornadoes of our brains and our hearts that are all mixing all together.
That's so awesome. And I think music is one of those things that can stop the tornado for a minute or for 3 minutes, or when you're at a show, with other people.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to understand what is it about me. I mean, a book, I cry when I read certain books. Sometimes I cried staring at a Gerhard Richter painting once, but I think it was just because I had just been dumped in, 5 minutes earlier in the room
in the
before
other gallery.
Oh no!
But music, why does music trigger the tears? Why does music trigger the soul, the heart? I feel like, whether it's Mozart or back to the caves, and the dancing and it's primal. Music is a primal expression. It's one of the things that separates us from monkeys, and there was this in the development of art. But music was some of the earliest art, okay, and because it's an expression of anxiety, and people just scream and dance around a fire. It's no different than Primavera, and it's so primal, and goes that. And so when people are all in these big rooms or at a music festival, whether you're smashing into each other in a mosh pit, or you're all, in an opera house, just like with your tears, with your handkerchiefs, it's the same thing. And I went to church from when I was, till I was 14 years old. And I don't remember crying once,
Although I feel like, maybe not at church,
funerals
but
and stuff. But
I know.
I'm not a monster.
Raise you up on eagle's wings always gets you, right? But you're right.
God.
That's usually
is that the number one hit of like a certain kind of Catholicism or whatever?
Right.
No, I was singing that last week to somebody. Oh my gosh, that is a funny one. That's an anthem, That is an anthem of he will save us all. What a great song.
It's beautiful.
We could keep talking to you so much more. We love that you love your sad songs too. We'd love to hear the other ones later.
I know. We want your dissertation 25
Yeah,
song list
I
at
know.
some point.
I know. It's always fascinating. But thank you for taking the time. And we're so excited about the new album and can't wait to hear more. Keep writing those sad songs for us because we'll have plenty to talk about.
I write my best songs, my best sad songs when I'm really happy. It's when I'm really depressed if I can't even go there. But
Wow.
So I've been writing a lot. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm trying not to write any sad songs for a while. I'm trying to write a different kind of song. And I don't know what it is. Not an angry song. I feel like I've done it so much. Like you guys have said, I feel like I can't. Once I start crying, once I get triggered, I'm like, I gotta write it down, so.
It works really well for sync.
Yeah. So many bigger moments are the sadder moments. So,
I know.
I know my bread is buttered. Yeah, for sure.
Right. And death. We always need a death song. Just
Good.
saying. Yeah.
He just said he didn't want to write any more sad songs.
I know,
Laura.
but just, if you're like...
Inland Ocean, flew to Indiana to see a friend. She was already dust by then.
It was quite
good.
touching.
I'll work on more death songs. Good idea, you guys.
Yeah, please do. And
Dirges
consult your daughter. Yeah.
My daughter and I will write a whole bunch of new death songs, and we'll run them by you.
Okay, we love
amazing.
it. Cannot wait to hear that.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Sad Song Queens, because you always need a good cry. We will link these songs on our show page and our Spotify playlist. Please also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you find podcasts.
Huge thanks to Matt Berninger, Aaron Dessner, Bryce Dessner, Brian Devendorf, and Scott Devendorf of The National, Miwa Akamura and Abby Rubin, our friends at Beggars Group, BMG, and Grandstand Media. Special production thanks to Stephanie Gangle, Miles Bergsma, Eugenia Coe, Jordan Lindsley, and our producer, Emily Cartham. Our theme song is All My Favorite Songs by Weezer, and our outro music is by Wyatt Rouse. Hi, it's Lindsay from the Sad Song Queens podcast. You may have heard us allude to Rob or thank Rob Seals and the Songwriting School of Los Angeles at the end of our podcast. He has been so kind to let us record in his studio, and the Songwriting School is an awesome place. If you want to learn how to songwrite, record, or even information how to release or sync your song, there's a class for that.
The Songwriting School of Los Angeles is devoted to the artistry and industry of songs. To learn more, go to thesongwritingschool.com, where you can learn more or enroll in classes.